God of War is how you make a decade franchise into the new standards that the new audience as of today are used to. Saint Monica did something fantastic that the developers that are around would kill for. What I'm talking about is they brought a classic game that was made 10 plus years ago and they brought it to a new generation of gamers, and it's being positively received by that same younger generation, and it stays true to the core gameplay that made the game what it is today. God of War has that feeling of being a savage for blood and not caring about anything but what's right in front of Kratos. At first, you guys, I was really skeptical about this movement. But because I felt like God of War 3 had a lot of really good moments that made you feel like a badass. And especially how they changed the gameplay, I didn't know if they would be able to capture that essence in, that style that they chose to use. Another thing that I was really skeptical on when, this was first announced is going from Greek mythology to Norse mythology. At first, it seemed really iffy, and it seemed a dramatic change, to go to a completely new region, a completely new religion, where you fight completely different gods as a whole. And to be honest, I don't believe any game has ever done something drastic like this in a change. And I was really skeptical about that, you guys. I mean, think about that. Not only did Kratos switch lands, he switched gods as well. That's a really big risk that Santa Monica did. The combat in this game is amazing, and at first it felt like a generic Dark Souls that felt like some of the abilities that Kratos has was faster than Kratos himself. After you level up a few times and get new skills, you start to see the amount of detail that was put into it. When it comes to combat, the new axes in this I love. And at times I start hardcore missing the blades from the originals, but when you learn how to use the combo and the movesets together, and you can really make the axe feel like something unique. It goes extremely well, and honestly, I can say it was the correct move. Also, putting an RPG element in this game was also a really good move. They let you feel the fact that you're getting stronger and stronger as time goes on, but by the end of the game, you know how you've come as, Kratos' moveset in general and how strong Kratos himself has become since you first cut down that tree at the very beginning of the game. Now let's talk about Atreus. When he was announced, I can honestly say that I did not like the idea of having another Ashley from Resident Evil 4, and I was completely against the thought of babysitting while I'm being Kratos. Dealing with whatever the Norse world is going to be throwing at me, I'm glad to report that I was completely wrong. And it's arguably one of the best things they did and one of the best choice to put him in this game. It gave Kratos a purpose. It's not just for blind revenge and he had in the last games. Atreus started being helpful in the middle of the game as well. Once he was leveled up to the point that, he would actually jump off Kratos' back and shoot arrows. He would, and sometimes I was fighting a foe, a really tough foe, multiple people around, and I cannot begin to describe to you guys how relieved I was to see that little guy jump on that dude's back and hold him so I can do a quick charge attack and get that dude dealt with. And I was really impressed of how they implied this dude, how they implied this little guy in this game, and how well it worked out. The way they changed the gameplay in this game scared me a lot. I was a huge fan and wanted to relive Kratos on the PS4 in 2018. The Last of Us effect is what I call it. It's when you and they clearly use this for this game, is when you focus on the story and you focus on the gameplay second. I was not sure how they could possibly capture Kratos with all the love with these changes. But after I beat the game, the first thing I thought to myself, oh, that's how they do it. The game feels like, the other ones when it comes to combat up close and personal. And almost every person in the game does it well. It's like I said, a lot of the big things I enjoyed about the original ones was, the set pieces to when you were actually fighting the gods. They did that really well in this game. When you do these set pieces, and kind of their newer games like Last of Us, Uncharted, they took a lot of those set pieces from God of War and they brought it over to, Uncharted for The Last of Us, and they did that really well. So, what they did is they brought that same concept and they brought it over to this one. Yes, some things that I enjoyed of the older games were kind of lacking as far as a puzzle aspect. They did bring them in this game, but they weren't what I remember from the older games. I hate the fact that these puzzles I wasn't really confused at all, really. I kind of understood how to do them pretty much on sight. And God of War 1 through 3 was kind of a platformer puzzle action game. So the fact that they got rid of that definitely was very frustrating because I felt like that was one of the core aspects of God of War. But, I went ahead and let that slide because I hope they revisit this in the sequel, but they made more improvements than this particular part in general. What I would like to bring up is the fact that that same troll that they showed at E3, that dude is reused at least 9 times. Just different colors and abilities. But this is me finding stuff to nitpick. I don't want to take away from the game overall. The game overall is fantastic. I'm just telling some of the things that I did notice that I would like for improvement, because I do feel like that, certain aspects of this game could have been improved. Like I said, the improvements outweigh the downside of this game by far. I just wanted to make that aware. But I did notice the same troll 9 or 10 times. So, what are my last thoughts on this game? What is the score everyone wants to know you're standing with? This game is amazing, nothing short of it. Santa Monica, they did it. They outdid themselves, and they have a Game of the Year contender for me at least. And they made a straight up game that can compete with something as great as The Last of Us, which is highly considered one of the greatest games that's ever made. So, what is that score? What is my overall impression with everything together, and what is that number? I believe this is a great 9 out of 10. This game is a true gem and is one of the reasons I still enjoy gaming, and it is definitely Iron Lords approved. This is Gaming Addict. I'm out of here. Peace.